Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. Feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out to me. Two ways to do this is through email and, of course, YouTube. Appreciate those who reach out to me through emails. Thank you so much. And I can't stress enough, I do read information that's sent to me through email. If you want to reach out to me, go on and do that. Now, I'm on a lot of different audio platforms, so won't be hard to find me. But, it's also greatly appreciated to spread the word about my podcast. So, the good old-fashioned word of mouth works a lot. So, tell your friends, family, everyone about the Harboring Light. All I got to do is type in the Harboring Light. I will pop up. Okay, so since it's Friday, guess what? I'm keeping current. So this time, I'm going to give my thoughts about, now, Clayface is the movie will be in theaters in the fall. But so what I'm going to do is give my thoughts about the aspects of comic book adaptations, with the movies. And then, when the movie actually comes out, I'm going to go and see it first, and then give, pre and post, give thoughts about the movie and everything. So, here we go. Okay, so comic book movies. So, here's what I think. It's one of those things where it's really important, like a whole bunch of other things. Always make sure you get the source correct with what you are referring to. So, comic books are one of those things that it can easily be, it can go one or two ways. It's either riddled with information that is for proving a political purpose, or it can just simply tell the story, which I buy for. I buy for comic books that just stay true to the source. And so with Clayface coming up, I'm hoping that hush right now, baby. Okay, thank you. Go. So I'm hoping with Clayface, with a new movie coming up in October, that it stays true to the story plot. Now, I'm not going to go into much depth about it now, because I'm going to go more in depth on that later on. Okay, I'm going to take care of it for you, baby. Hold on. I told you don't come out here without shoes, okay? I'm going to go into more depth about it later on. But as of now, I'm just hoping it really stays true to the aspects of the story plot. Because that's a lot of issues that I see with. A really good example is when they did Wonder Woman 1984, something like that. Now, Wonder Woman is a really good of an example of the aspects of understanding the source material and the reasons behind why it was, what the message is and the creator and the reason for the comic book, which is interesting with comic books because it was one of those first in line things to be a scapegoat to blame all the issues of the world on. And so, Wonder Woman is the epitome of what it actually means to be strong and independent and resourceful. So, hold on, I'll be right back. Alright, so getting back to the point here. Alright, taking care of family business there. So, getting back to everything. So, she is the quintessential of really what it means to have valor and beauty and grace and patriotism in all of this. Because that's what... Hey, I'm not telling y'all again, stop it. Go back inside. I'll be in there just a minute. And so, with that, when the 1984 Wonder Woman came out, it was weird because it was saying that, well, the tropes that they push now with strong boss girl is essentially what Diana and everything else, and that's what she stands for as far as Wonder Woman is involved, when that's just simply not the case. You're just not really understanding the source material. You're not understanding how, especially at that time, the aspects of the war effort. When we think about the Great War and the Great Wars, that passed World War One and then World War Two, and then we go on into the aspects of the roles and the disposition of how women were thought of as men, and going off to wars. Simply put, with Rosie the Riveter and stuff like that, the image of you stay behind and you take and you protect our country. So standing up and just being a source provider, not only for comfort but also for protection in the way and manner in which women could. And so that's why you saw women going back and actually stepping up to the plate and working cannery jobs, stuff like that, doing whatever, and then getting and understanding the importance of rationing and all these things. And it wasn't this whole thing of, oh, I'm going to take control and act like a man and be very abrasive and everything like that, and not have any care or honor for men. No, it was quite the opposite. That's the difference. And so, unfortunately, that was what was seen a lot in the 1984 Wonder Woman film that came out. So that's one. And I can't stress enough about the aspects of how much of a respect that I have for Frank Miller. And so, with Frank Miller, with Watchmen, among other stuff, that the psychological intake that he had was very on point. When we get in and talking about the aspects of what it actually entails and everything about. I'm not gonna tell y'all again. Everything, what it actually means when it comes to superheroes, and then when it comes to, being called to duty, and then the lineage of all these different assorted characters that were in the Watchmen. And so when the series came out, it was very, again, a huge letdown, because they, again, were pushing a ideological agenda. Even though they were saying, well, the series was supposed to be the next gen or new hope sort of telling or rehashing of Watchmen, but I think that was just cope to make excuses for them that's just crapping all over the Frank Miller's vision about everything, and him creating that masterful work of Watchmen. So here's why I say this. So there's a parallel and differences between these, the actual source of Watchmen and the movie the television version of Watchmen. So I'm going to take this quick call and I'll get right back to you. Alright, so getting back to it. So with Frank Miller's vision here, he has specific reasons for creating the in-depth characters, like Manhattan, for example. So the way Manhattan is presented in the series is quite different than in the comic book. There was no way, shape, or form. It's fine to, if there was no origin of his image, but there's a specific origin on the way in which he looks. And so when the series was developed, it showcased him in a way that doesn't make any sense, because they casted an African American man to do this, and this has been brought up a lot of times. And to why is it that we come underrepresented images? Why is it that they show the opposite effect all the time? It's never the other way around, where it's African American culture being showcased, and where it's a character of white descent or whatever descent depicting it. Most of the time you don't see that. And so that is where I have a lot of pushback and when it comes to things like that, because you're saying that pushing race agendas is more important than actually telling the story. And so there's that. Now, it's quite interesting. So, last night I was just looking and scrolling around on Paramount Plus, and it just so happened that this movie popped up. It's Super. So I kind of heard about it, through my husband, and which is interesting how things go about when it comes to movies, because sometimes I think it is a lot of things in the entertainment industry. They test things out in order to see how it goes, and then something they could do a more big production version of it, and then everything. So what I'm getting along the lines is, this looks like this movie was a test out version of Kick-Ass. And so Rainn Wilson is and then for it to be an indie project, I don't know, because they have a lot of big names in it. They got Rainn Wilson, Liv Tyler, Kevin Bacon, and the only person that really was not well known, because Juno didn't come out, was Ellen Page. But So when you get into the movie, right, Rainn Wilson's character is you can see his overall of why he felt called to have the trope to be serve and protect, to be a super. And this goes along the lines of a lot with the character of Rorschach. Rorschach just had a acid-filled rain life, if that puts everything in perspective. And so it brings up the matter of the understanding of why he felt compelled to do the things that he does. And that, most of the time, if you want to get into the reality situation, you kind of have that mental state of mental instability if you always constantly feel like you have to protect, serve, and do something like that all the time. He sought after where are, and then Rainn Wilson's character reflection upon that, sitting on where are this seedy people, where looking out, seeking out, and all of these things. And specifically in Super, that's what Rainn Wilson did. He sat around looking and finding where are they, and then, doing his vigilante justice. And then he got the inspiration, when he went into the comic book store and he felt, well, first he saw, which you could say, he was talking about all these visions that he could get, which you could say this is a manifestation of him, of a mental breakdown. And he said, being called by the hand of God, touched by the finger of God or something, and it compelled him to, step up and have superhero qualms to serve and protect, especially his wife, which ultimately turned into his ex-wife. And so, that's the whole thing. If you're interested, check out Paramount Plus. It's Super, the movie. That's what it's called, Super. All right, so, and then with Rorschach was like, when you go immediately go into the character, he's sitting there and he's processing and he's thinking, all the scum of the earth today, what's next? Just thinking about these things all the time. And then when you have this kind of mentality, you have a warped sense of reality where, it's starting that Frank Miller was one of the first to really delve into the aspects of, it's not so peaches and cream when it comes to wanting to be a part of the world of serving and protecting, being the superhero. Is not so, sexy or good looking all the time. There's something to be said about that. So, with everything said and done, to end and wrap up, I'm not gonna, drag everything out. I'm just hoping, with Clayface coming out in October, just hoping they get that right with the aspects of how comic books, depending on which way you go, that it really, really, just tells a story for what it is, and really gets in the depths and of the rich tapestry of comic book lore or comic book entertainment. Because at its best, comic books really seep into and really give a very vivid and very overall common understanding of the aspects of the moral complex of something. And also There's no mistake. You I'll bring this up, that there's a lot of, and because the hero has to do with Greek mythology. And so the hero is like, if I'm not mistaken, y'all who are versed in this, the hero is on the low totem pole as far as God and goddesses, or things of that nature. They're on the low totem pole, so they have that complex of wanting to be better, of wanting to all these things, step up and do all these things. And then the comic book mentality when it comes with superheroes, depending on DC, Marvel, what have you, which kind of comic book house produced these comics, they really get into those mythological depths quite intricately and interesting in an interesting way. All right, so with that said, keeping y'all current here, and I'm gonna get back to keeping y'all current on next Friday. All right, so this ends the Harper and Light. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye bye for now.